Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They nerfed it into the ground, might you say. So now in these glider sections, you will not fall all the way down. You will just become small and keep gliding your way. So they nerfed Shock a lot. How do you feel about Sunshine now?
I mean, I'm still not a fan of the Shock update, but I'll tell you one thing. Remember that flight to Atlanta that we were both on? You fell asleep and our plane kind of got struck by lightning.
Yeah, no, it's such a weird way to wake up.
This is going to be a weird way to go down, you know? But anyways, I digress. But, you know, the interesting thing about this track, though, is that does make a huge difference. And also going back to Twisted Mansion, those big extended areas like the ones you're seeing here, not being able to just sink down when that lightning comes out, it's a huge advantage for players, and it really encourages front running a little bit more. Yeah,
no, I definitely do agree with you. Sunshine, for me personally, I always struggle with this track because there aren't that many comebacks, not that many shortcuts. You know, you've got to just run and know this track inside and out so that you don't get hit out. It's kind of a DKJ situation. That green shell going to bounce and land onto Marshall's red, and then Batter going to get hit by the banana that they couldn't see. But this track, you just do not want to get hit out. You want to grab those 10 coins and run as fast as possible, just trying to not get hit by all of the stuff around you. And now we're seeing Marshall trying to keep this consistent third place going.
You really got to be careful about these smart bounce opportunities. It brings the bell to me here. Just on this turn, I got smart bounced by one of Better Cookie's greens, and it ended my tournament run. Cass doing a great job here in second, though, playing as Toadette in the Biddy Buggy, also the Leaf Tires, and she's going to be opting to throw a red shell there up at first place. This is not Batter Cookie. This is the player in pot number 3. That's going to be 13, by the way, who is opting to go for a baby loadout. So lightweight loadout, better handling, less speed. 10 coins there for 13. And again, I mean, 13 you can't discount. He's been incredibly well. Has also traveled all across the United States and had some really good land results as well. Having a good run at Dragon Con back a few years ago. So Blue Shell coming in. Is he going to be able to get past this gap? He will. But will he have enough?
Yeah, no, it's going to be really unfortunate, especially coming down to this final turn on this track. We got Cass here, and that is the shock change I was just talking about before. We would have seen top 3 just float themselves down to the ocean, and then they'd take a swim, come back up, and then you'd see so many different racers be able to take it over.
13 edges out Batter Cookie.
Talking about takeover.
Gets up to speed a little bit quickly. Cass going to get a respectable third place. Really well done. What's the chat saying here? Yeah, Starcasty, I honestly don't care for the shock update. Rainbow saying, like legit, if the shock patch didn't happen, it'd become so rare in competitive play because there'd be no reason to play. Yeah, the shock can ruin. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I don't think it was necessary, especially like they're trying to make it more like Mario Kart Tour, where it's a little bit more forgiving. And with these new, Wave 3 tracks, there were so many glider sections, and they're like, we just do not want people to get really frustrated in the game and then turn it off. You're like, oh, this is just totally unfair, which is, it makes sense per se, but then it's just really frustrating when you want to use this extremely strong item in those spots and help yourself move yourself forward.
Yeah, and it really just takes so much strategy away, especially being one of the players that uses shock the most in the LAN scene. Now having to adapt, and it took me a week to figure it out, but getting players after a box, being able to go through, and then also trusting the players that you're putting into that box that have the advantage over the players ahead of them, making sure that you're far enough back to get those powerful items to get around them. It's a completely different strategy, and you really do have to respect the new mechanics of the game now.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, and we're going to be going to talking about the new DLC, Berlin Byways, one of these tracks which is extremely interchangeable with London Loop, in my opinion. I actually get confused with either or of them all the time. I'm not a huge fan.
I like Berlin a little bit more than London, and just because of the areas of cuts and things like that you can do here. It really is a little bit more of an exciting track. This is going to be MV Rocks right now. Got to be careful. The player with the green shell right beside them as the player just gets lit up here going into this metro area there of Berlin. This is the Love Yoda, also rocking a similar loadout to what we saw from a player in the previous qualifier. Has some shrooms, going to be moving on in. But Marshall, though, with this red shell, could they be bullying Yoda here? And Cass also back there in the top 5, so we definitely have some unknown names there up in the top spots, Pidgey.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting to see that. And we see a lot of these new tracks as well. A lot of these racers not having the time to practice them, time trial them, so it's just a whole new experience for everyone. I'm really trying to just figure out where you're trying to go, because you look at that mini map and it's it's not telling you anything. You got to just keep your eyes on the road and just hope you're going in the right direction. And I was actually like one of the competitors, I was like, you know what, if it's pretty easy and then I'm going in the wrong direction, I have no clue where I'm going. It's just one of those tracks where it's just a lot of turns, a lot of drifts, and you got to hope for the best. As we see Sunken working their way up into third, being able to avoid that green, but cannot avoid another.
Green. Oh, unfortunate there for Sunken, excuse me, that ended up using a huge bill extension there, by the way, if you did end up catching that. Moved all the way up to third, but this is Marshall now in a star in second. First place, this is likely going to be Batter Cookie, one of the time trialers that has moved all the way up. And so now Marshall really just trying to hold on to second here. 13's going to be pressuring him from behind. But the real question is will anybody have time to catch up to Batter Cookie?
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it? And Batter Cookie being in a very good spot right now. But still, a blue shell could come out, ruin their entire run, and allow Marshall to catch back up. But as time goes on, you're seeing Marshall with that 1 point and then just losing more and more time as time goes on. Marshall having those triple shrooms, throwing the red forward, but he gets stopped by the thwomp. That's just going to allow Batter Cookie to take a chill pill and back Marshall at the line, I believe. And that's still going to allow him to get second place. But my goodness, 13 and third, Cass in fourth.
Marshall really has to be a little bit aware of where those shroom spots are, not using your shrooms too early. But also, too, I mean, kind of walked. I mean, Batter Cookie was being a little bit of a menace there. But I mean, Marshall did also kind of just walk right into that, though.
Yeah, no, I totally do agree with you there, especially when you're seeing a competitor just sitting there at the line. There's only one of two things that could have happened there. Their controller disconnects, or they're waiting to back you with an item, and you got to just go wide and realize, hey, you know what? If they have it past the line and you don't see their character moving on the mini-map at the finish line, just go wide. Just save yourself and really just, you know, save your entire race. But still, fortunate enough for Marshall that they still were able to confirm second place. Just one of those situations you got to keep track of. And we were just talking about Cloud Top in the chat, twitch.tv/Allied Esports. We were talking about how much better this track is now because of the shock changes.
I really enjoy this track. I used to like vehemently dislike Cloud Top Cruise.
Oh, I hate it still.
And honestly, like you learn to respect it because of how technical it is from a running perspective. And I think that with this shock update, it actually helps the track a little bit. Like I think that's kind of what you're getting at too. So, you know, Marshall right now here in second, gonna try and get the hole shot here from Batter Cookie. Gonna red him out immediately, and that does register. So Marshall right now gonna be 7 points behind Batter Cookie there in third overall. 13 there is second, then Cass, D'Angelo, and Sunken there in the top 6. Pretty big breakaway from the top 4 though, on through the rest of the pack. And then the GOAT there in 7, Geo Power and RJ 005, they're tied for 8th. And then the Love Yoda and MB Rocks rounding out the field so far, but we still got 2 more races to go.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to see what's going to happen here in Sunken, being able to avoid that lightning. And this is a very technical track. If you look up the time trials, it is very, very difficult. But guess what? That shock hasn't changed at all. That's still going to knock you off the track and have you be saved by Lakitu and Lakitu's brother over there, saving Sunken, who unfortunately could not take that shortcut there. And now grabbing that single item box, we're going to be seeing them grab a mushroom, which is actually, you know, it's fine, especially when you have another item box coming right up.
A little bit of an awkward line, but hey, for Sunken, they avoided that fire, so good job there. Batter Cookie here in third, though, as it's still Marshall up there in the lead, 13 there in second, and 13 just getting lit up there by Batter Cookie, who has now moved up into second place. 13 here defenseless, but now we're going to have to see what offense does Batter Cookie have as he changed that horn going to try to take down Marshall.
Yeah, and really it's just a battle between Marshall and Batter in this qualifier so far. We're seeing Marshall being able to get their coin ghosted, but still in a really good spot right now, has those 10 coins. Talked about that and how crucial it is and how it allows you to just have a little bit more speed against the person behind you. Doesn't pop the horn, but waits for Batter Cookie to come up and then hits him with the air horn, but then blocks their red shell with their banana. Don't know what that exchange was, and then Batter tries to back Marshall.
Yeah, that's getting a little bit personal for these two. By the way, one thing to note is that Cass is kind of mired there in the mid-pack, but Marshall taking things back over here, going to be getting some guaranteed defense. What is Batter going to do as the third place player is now firing off on Batter?
Oh, and that's just going to allow Marshall to grab this first place finish. There it is. The battle was conquered by Marshall, being able to overtake him, grab that first place finish, and third place really helped them out. Batter Cookie in second.
That was
and
13
in third. Yeah,
13 got into it there with Batter Cookie, and Batter Cookie had to knock out 13, which allowed Marshall to go ahead and get that gap to maintain that win. So again, these battles are getting pretty heated here in this qualifier already. You can already see there, Batter Cookie up by 2 there over 13. Marshall up there. And by the way, that was before this past race. So things are already going to be shaking up now that kind of top 3 is inverted a little bit.
Absolutely, and we got the races on deck. So qualifier number 4, if you hear your name, head up to the hype tunnel. We got Ankles, Ariel Postel, Sports Joey, Mr. Scooty, Live, Laugh, Love, Fever, Yo Mommy Waffles, Pool, Bit 8, Skibbs, and Deuce. If you heard your name, head up to the hype tunnel. We'll be waiting on you to get the next qualifier started as we get into this next race. It's Grumble Volcano. One of the more favorable tracks. I enjoy it a lot. The final third lap shortcut, always ruining my race, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah, Grumble Volcano is such a fun track. Huge opportunity as well, especially through those tunnel sections to soft drift, basically holding your stick and optimizing your mini turbos a little bit, being able to get those to come out faster, get a little bit more of a boost and leverage that dynamic of the game. But we're going to be starting here with RJ005.
Oh.
And that's all she wrote.
Yeah, we got disconnects. One of the controllers, switches, or otherwise probably popped out. You know, it happens, and we're going to be seeing people getting back in the lobbies very, very soon. But still, we got a lot to talk about from those three races so far, and going into now what's going to be another randomizer track pick. I mean, Knight, really, when it comes down to it, is it worth it to keep the battle going back and forth? Especially like I was really confused what was happening in that situation where, you know, Marshall wanted to take out Batter for a little bit of karma. Is it just worth it in the end?
No, because they allowed 13, who wasn't part of the discussion, to get right back in it. And 13 was basically the reason why Marshall ended up winning. So the two of them fighting allowed third place to catch back up. And 13 was actually the most influential player there towards the end of that race, because Batter then had to shift his attention not only off of Marshall, but onto 13. 13 ended up taking a hit from that, but that allowed Marshall to go ahead and take that win. So you got to be very careful when, you know, you get heated in some of these matches with players, and I've had some rough runs with Batter Cookie, but you got to know when to pick your battle, so to speak, because you don't want to ruin your day just because you have it out for one player.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. Really well spoken. And it's just one of those opportunities where you can, you know, do it, but you also just don't want to, like you said, ruin it for yourself in the long run. But fortunately enough, Marshall was still able to pull that one off. But we'll be getting into the next map selection very, very soon and talking about some of these changes in the game. They also changed like the item boxes about 2 patches ago with the second wave.
Yep.
How do you feel about that a little bit? You know, walk us through what kind of changed in that department.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about tenths of a second, I believe, right? But it was like 1 second to 0.75, I believe. Yeah, so we're talking about, okay, maybe a couple hundredths of a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's really huge, because if you can get that cadence down, then you can ultimately time going through the box a little bit. And it does help, especially with things like lag and things online that are a little bit more preventable. You know, that's going to really allow you to make sure that you ensure that you have a box if you're following a player's line and ultimately, you know, using whatever item you have to your advantage. We are going to be going to Twisted Mansion, though, so this is going to be our first repeat, but I love Twisted Mansion, man.
I do too. I do enjoy this track a lot. It's actually a really controversial track online. A lot of people despise it, hate it, or they enjoy it. There's never like a love for this track.
Yeah, for sure. They're still sending the Emery clip all over the internet, so that's a win. But here we go. 13 right now in 4th. Gonna potentially trail out that player off to the side, but no, that player is on the Duke, by the way. Really interesting seeing that loadout come in. Batter, though, up 4, 13, and Marshall, they're going to be tied with 35. Cass in 4th with 27. Definitely needs at least the 3rd place to be in the discussion here without relying on second chance. And you can see the other players there on your screen. Geo Power, though, here in the City Tripper, Yoshi Bike City Tripper, having a good run there in the top 4 so far as well.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting because Twisted Mansion, anything can happen at any time. And we actually have one of the other tournaments in the chat as well, saying one of the really well-known players, Casper, basically confirmed for Saturday Night Speedway in April. So that's going to be really interesting to see them come out here and compete with the big dogs as well.
All right, so Casper, that's another really interesting thing. I believe Casper ended up winning one of the PlayX tournaments. It's like a satellite tournament to get you to get out to a Saturday Night Speedway. And Casper, that's going to be a really interesting one because Casper's the defending champion of MomoCon 2022, and we all know MomoCon's going to be in Atlanta in May, and that's going to be a really huge one to see the best of the best from the U.S. and can't say who, but also international entrants are going to be coming into MomoCon as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that tournament as well, but we're seeing Batter Cookie with that beautiful boomerang back, and now we're going over to Cass in first place. Unfortunately, going to be the target of that shock, but like you're seeing there, beautiful move to get back up to 10 coins. I mean, that's just what you want to do when you're in those situations, when you have no other choice, but then you got to go for those coins, get back up to 10, and really just use that speed to your advantage.
Cass really has to be using that X button a little bit more. Batter Cookie able to take first place away from her, but Cass does avoid get run over. But look, did you see that bomb go back? I almost had to stutter there because that ended up taking out Marshall.
Oh no, and another bomb goes back, but I don't think it even connected again to Cass.
It didn't, but 13 and Marshall got hit by something. Cass has to be very careful here and how she wants to play the situation out here with Batter Cookie.
Yeah, really the ideal move is throw the red forward, roll for some more reds, and hope for the best that you get another red to take out Batter, but it doesn't seem like that is the case. Batter going to be able to hop their way to the finish line. No green shell to be found to be backed here, and Cass going to grab second, and D'Angelo in third, and Marshall in fourth in this final race of qualifier number 3.
We don't know where 13 finished, but that was a huge run for Cass, who needed at least a third place finish or higher there. Ended up, we don't know what she had there off of that last pole. She did throw that red forward, but that's going to likely secure her with roughly 39 points or so. Should put her in a good position to get out of the second chance, but we won't know officially. Just keep that in mind until the last qualifier is over.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's just one of those things you want to stick around, learn what these other players are doing, and then once, if you know you're in second chance, really take our advice when it comes down to it, and then you'll be good to go, maybe, you know, top 2 going in the semifinals. But it's just one of those things. Really great work from qualifier number 4. And then we got a lot of discussion in the chat, twitch.tv/Allied Esports. Join the chat, join the Mario Kart competitive scene, and really just talk to everyone. Everyone's amazing in this community. I absolutely love them. I've literally been here for years. I first discovered it here at the arena and just fell in love with the game and just discovered everyone else. It's just been an amazing, wonderful time, upward all the way.
It really has, and we can definitely pull up the chat, but let's pull up the highlights first here from qualifier number 3. This is going to be Batter Cookie with the green. Bounces off the ricochet, takes out one of Marshall's items, but guess what? Karma comes back to Batter Cookie there, hitting that banana. Marshall burning out here. That's a little bit unfortunate there for Berlin Byway, but MB Rocks having a little run-in with some taxis here.
Yeah, they're going to have to exchange insurance there. Marshall now seeing the whole battle between Marshall and Batter Cookie. 13 is here, going to take the full force of the blue shell. Should have waited to get hit by the blue shell and then throw the bomb back, because then you can space yourself out. That's just one of the things that Bobby does as well, because once that explosion comes out, that bomb is right behind you. It's going to explode with the blue shell. You're not going to get the full utilization out of that bomb. So just a little things you got to keep in mind, like spacing out your items and when to use them.
Speaking of that, though, we do have scores here for qualifier number 3, so let's take a look, see how everyone's done. Batter Cookie going to be in first here with 54 points. Marshall in second there with 44. 13 in third with 41. Cass ends up in fourth there with 39. RJ 005 there with 26. D'Angelo there, that huge run in the last race, gets him up to 25 points. Also tied for sixth is going to be the GOAT, Sunken with 24. And then you got Geo Power, the Love Yoda, and MB Rocks finishing with 18, 11, and 4 points.